1961 was a year of international tensions, compounded by crisis after crisis.
My fellow Americans, I am about to sign into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
All discrimination did not end that day. But from that day forward, America has been a better and fairer country.
It can be a year of inspiration and hope.
Let us be united for peace.
That gift of freedom is actually the birthright of all humanity.
That we are too divided.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny, and I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
Civil disobedience.
The decision is ours.
I just want to be served at the lunch counter like everyone else.
Never have the nations of the world had so much to lose.
January 31st, 1961.
Together we shall save our planet, or together we shall perish in its flames.
Well, it was, those times were very scary times.
January 31st was the date that we had decided on.
My freshman year at Friendship College, and it was decided that we would sit in and go to jail.
The Negro says in no uncertain terms that he doesn't like the way he's being treated.
They wanted to be treated as first-class citizens like everybody else.
We did have some members of the white community at that time who felt very strongly about the injustices which were occurring in the black community, and Brother David Boone and others who really stepped out front and provided some leadership, I think, for our entire community.
I see only one face. That is the face of the future.
The fact of the matter that they had white and colored or water signs in most of the public buildings. Everything was segregated anyway, but that took it a step further.
And that was one thing I couldn't realize. Why could I not sit down at the lunch counter with other people?
It probably hit me maybe at the age of 17 or so. Prior to that, if you wanted something from the counter, you just stand at the counter and wait until the waitress would bring it to you, and you take it outside and eat it.
The counter sit-ins were a pivotal part of making a stand. The immorality of the law is what we needed to take note of. It created a voice for the rest of the population who had no voice.
Tom Gaither had came on the campus that summer, and he was with the Congress of Racial Equality with CORE. He had just recently graduated from Claflin University in Orangeburg, and Tom Gaither was a South Carolinian. He's a Great Falls native. So we know him. He'd come on the campus and he would sit in our ACP meetings, and this one particular day he came in and talked about a new strategy that we're going to try.
Because during that time we were going to jail before, but we were not staying.
We weren't getting any satisfaction. We were not able to sit down at the lunch counters. So Tom brought this idea of jail, no bail, to Rock Hill. It hadn't been tried anywhere in the country, but an idea that thought it might work.
Jail, no bail.
We were being bailed out. There was a lot of people going to jail and a lot of people paying fines. We were losing money. NAACP was losing money, and other organizations was losing money.
And we just got tired of that and not being treated like citizens of the city. It just didn't make sense. And we figured it was time for us to do something about it.
So we came up with the strategy of going to jail and not paying the fine and staying in jail.
We had made up our mind, enough was enough.
But we marched on. It's about a mile to downtown.
We were going to go downtown, march around town, eventually go inside of the diner.
We decided to go on in.
So So we went in and we sat down.
We'd be served else.
The rules. Do show yourself friendly at the counter at all times.
But we decided, the 9 of us, or 10 of us really, that we would sit at the lunch counters and we would not move.
We believe that since we buy books and paper in the other part of the store, we should be served in this part of the store.
And we proceeded to order.
And see what happens.
Do sit straight.
As soon as I sat on the stool, I was slammed to the floor by the officer.
Always face the counter.
I can only tell you what happened to me because I was on the floor.
Well, sure enough, the police came.
So we was snatched up from our seats.
Don't strike back or curse back if attacked.
And as I came up off the floor, 2 officers had me by the seat of my pants.
And they handcuffed us.
And marched out the rear door of the establishment.
And what else was that we ended up in York County, yeah.
And literally dragged us from the stools to the jailhouse.
And took us to jail.
And we were locked up right then.
And had a hearing next morning.
Now, we didn't go to prison just to sit down and play around. We did hard labor. We did difficult things, moving concrete blocks. We did whatever they told us to do for 30 days.
They were well trained to nonviolent and how important it was.
Don't hold conversation.
We had to learn how to behave in a nonviolent manner.
They want our money for the goods they sell, but they won't allow us to sit and eat at the lunch counter.
The young people now can't understand why did it happen, how on earth did it happen, why did they wait so long to do it? You know, if it was 150 years after Lincoln freedom, why did it take that long? And why didn't they do something about it?
Simply to be recognized that we sacrificed and they had no idea what we were doing. We could have been killed any moment. People were being lynched every day.
Because discrimination was occurring everywhere. And so only where there were those special individuals like the Friendship 9 who stepped forward did change begin to take place.
You know, and when they burned the cross in front of my house, you know, we thought we were going to die that night. And oftentimes when we asked to go back there, it's not easy. So if I sound a little...
If you don't leave, I have to have a warrant issued for your arrest and charge you trespassing. I'm saying it, so I told you you're not welcome in the store, all right? Charge you for trespassing.
It gets hard.
Always face the counter.
Any friends that I had on the other side of town, I lost them very quickly, and which weren't really true friends then.
I was clever about that because if Caucasians were around somewhere, I made sure that I kept it zipped.
I would see how cheerful they were in the black community. Once we crossed over into the white community, they're entirely different.
A cup of coffee, please.
Now, if you had African Americans there and I had center stage, I'd blow it up, okay?
Do show yourself friendly at the counter at all times.
And they very solemn and no joking around and or jiving around, as they would say, you know, that.
So I was smart enough to know that on one side I was going to have all of the glory and the fanfare. On the other side, I was just another chip.
Do sit straight and always face the counter.
But once we got back into the black community, they would just relax and enjoying life.
Don't strike back or curse back if attacked.
But once I concluded what was happening there, and once I decided that, okay, I don't want to be hated by folk, I want folk to love me, it changed.
I just want to be served at the lunch counter like everyone else.
Let me participate. We work together. That's all. Change of heart will change of mind.
And I saw that, you know, and I said we had to do something about making that happen over Rock Hill, that just not in territories.
There were already movements, sit-ins all over anyway, but just happened just before the famous Freedom Ride. And I think this was a catalyst for that, the Freedom Ride, and eventually, of course, the Civil Rights Movement in '65. We'd like to think we played a role in it.
I wouldn't talk about it for probably 20, 25 years. You know, the scars were so deep from the abuse that he took.
The fact that it was so civilized, because nowadays you don't hear about these calm, peaceful protests, because usually they end in just like riots and arrests and just craziness and people getting hurt.
He suddenly put up his hands and said, "Oh, you're not going to do that to me." Anybody who's been a Negro for long knows what that means.
The fact that they were able to go in peacefully and be above everything else, to me, is just that mentality is just amazing to me.
Our legacy is trying to correct a wrong.
Its purpose is not to divide, but to end divisions, divisions which have lasted all too long.
There were a lot of people who suffered and died and cried and went through a lot of turmoil just to make sure that we could have the rights that we have today.
Until we change the hearts of men, change the hearts. We can change presidents. It can be black, blue, green, doesn't matter who's in the Congress. What's going to happen next week? It's important, but it doesn't matter until your hearts change.
Take a leadership role, be genuine about it, and know the issues, study the issues, and be able to make decisions that would be most beneficial to the community that you're serving.
But when you're dealing with people, feelings, emotions, and livelihoods, once we stop lying and be honest about it and try to get on the same page, this would be a wonderful country again.
I see that person has feelings just like I do, and they don't want those feelings hurt or offended, and I try not to ever hurt anybody that way.
I cannot help thinking that 100 years from now, the historians will be calling this the generation of integration.
Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I believe we will win it because the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied up with the destiny of America.
For our community-wide Martin Luther King celebration, I invited Congressman John Lewis to come. What he did was extremely moving to me because he sat at the counter and he put his hands on top of it and bowed his head and prayed.
It moved me to see people being willing just to show up, being brave and courageous.
We are a much different place. We are not fully where we need to be and want to be, but we're a much different community today.
It's a good country, but we could be a whole lot better. Yeah, I'm proud to be American. I'm not going anywhere else. No, if it's for you, no, I'm not. I'll be right here. So you stuck with me. I'm sorry.
But we didn't think that. We just marched on what we thought was right.
We're here, I think, because our work isn't done yet.
The United States of America.
Freedom. That's what it should mean. If we can ever come together and really unite, it would really be some type of country. If we could really unite.
What in the hell are you doing here?
You have a good day, too.
Even though we have our problems, that it's the best country in this world. I believe that.
I think we've come a long, long way, but we have a long, long way to go.
I'm a proud American. I'm even proud of Black American. But I'm American. I'm proud to be one.
My mother used to call up, and she would, she didn't know I was in trouble, and she said, "Oh, thank God you're not in Mississippi." And not knowing that, the trouble was in Rocky or South Carolina too, but she was, I never told her, and she was, to her deathbed, she went relaxed without any worries.
I have a great deal of faith in the future and the outcome. I am not despairing.
I hope that every American, regardless of where he lives, will stop and examine his conscience about this and other related incidents. This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. Today we are committed to a worldwide struggle to promote and protect the rights of all who wish to be free.
The new Negro is a person with a new sense of dignity and destiny, with a new self-respect. Along with that is this lack of fear which once characterized the Negro, this willingness to stand up courageously for what he feels is just and what he feels he deserves on the basis of the laws of the land. I think also included would be this self-assertive attitude that you just mentioned. And all of these factors come together to make what seems to me to be the new Negro.
It was a year that shaped the future of men.
Pretty fast. Let's see.